So for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Jess. I'm Jessica Rose. I'm the founder of Jewelers Academy. And we started with the London Jewelry School, where we taught over 40,000 people how to make jewelry in physical face-to-face classes in London over about 13 or so years. And then in COVID, we moved a lot of our training online. We did some of it before COVID, but that was like kind of the big move. We took our diploma programs online, which have become the diploma programs we have today, which is the diploma in silver jewelry. We also have the diploma in fine jewelry and the advanced jewelry diploma. And we're developing new programs all the time. So yeah, these are the mentors, or some, just a small handful. We've got loads of mentors, but these are some of the wonderful mentors who teach on those programs. So let's do some introductions, shall we, to begin with. Perhaps the mentors can go around and just share a little bit about themselves, why they got involved in jewelry making and what they do now, what their businesses are like now. So Zoe, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Yeah, I was obsessed with jewelry from as long as I can remember. My uncle was a silversmith, and he used to make my auntie presents for Christmas every year, and I'd always sort of be interested in how he'd done them and wanting to know all about it, really. And when I was at college, he was a metalwork teacher at my college, and he used to run silversmithing courses. So I signed up for them, and that's how I started, really, at night school. And I did that for kind of couple of years, about 4 terms of classes, and just loved it, absolutely loved it, and just grew from there, really. A lot of my work from then on was sort of self-taught. I did a few short courses, and yeah, it just grew, and it became an obsession.
Yeah, I think it does, doesn't it? It's addictive, we say, but it's a good addiction, hopefully.
Absolutely. Very expensive addiction, but yeah, a good one.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And you have a business now, Zoe. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So I started Honeybee Design probably when I was still learning, really, and while I was doing the night schools, just making bits for friends and family. Honeybee Design comes from my middle name, which is Melissa, so it's Melissa Greek for honeybee. So that was always where it came from, what I thought I'd end up running a business as. Didn't know what it was going to be, but decided on jewellery. So yeah, I've been running that for probably about 10 years, a bit more seriously. I started with the silver, got into a bit of beadwork, did some metal clay, and then got back into the silver as I grew my workshop and my tool collection, and as you do, the addiction to tools. So yeah, now I run my business full-time around my 3 children, from my home studio workshop in my utility room. And it's great because it allows me to, do the school run and things like that. So yeah, I've been running it properly now for about 4 or 5 years. So yeah.
Amazing. Well done. Yeah, it's very inspiring, I think. And anyone who's not checked out Zoe's work, definitely have a look. She does beautiful kind of lots of granulation, lots of stone setting, lots of gold and silver, and just lovely pieces, very eye-catching pieces. So awesome. So Barbara, do you want to introduce yourself and just tell us a bit about how you got into jewelry making and what you do now?
Hi, I'm Barbara Yard, and I teach on the Fine Diploma. I got into jewellery making because I used to, there's a market in London called Portobello Road, and I used to sell there. I used to make things like cushions and mosaics. And I just met these ladies who were making jewellery, and we got chatting, and they said that they went to a college called Sir John Cass in London. So I found out about all of that, did a foundation course, then I did an HND, and then I worked for quite a well-known jeweller for about 2 years after I'd finished. And then I just started making. I worked from home for a while. Then now I have a studio, which is in Camberwell, London, and I just make and sell at shows and online and commissions. And I've been doing this now for about 18 years.
Wonderful. Well done. And you've been teaching for a while, haven't you? And
I've
Barbara
been
teaches
teaching
quite
now for about 5 or 6 years, I think, give or take. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you've done a bunch of courses on the diplomas as well. I'm trying to remember all the ones you've done. You've done some on the advanced. I think you've got them on all.
I think I'm on all three.
Yeah,
I think I'm on all three.
Yeah. And I always associate you with gold, Barbara. I always think of your work as being lots of gold and articulation and texture and stone setting as well.
Yeah,
and
it is. I do like working in gold. It's my favourite thing to work in.
Yeah, yeah. And the kind of K and Boo and all of those lovely techniques, which we can talk a bit more about. Wonderful. Thank you. And last but not least, Anelia, do you want to introduce yourself and tell everyone a bit
Hi,
about
everyone. You? Yeah, I'm Aniela. I'm also one of the mentors at Jewelers Academy, and this year I'm teaching advanced, right? It's advanced diploma.
Yeah.
So, and before, I've been teaching actually for the last few years. I started at London Jewelry School when we had physical classes, and that was a great experience, very enjoyable. Face-to-face with students, helping them to do their projects. It was wonderful. And I'm actually starting backwards. And prior to that, I used to do a lot of work in different workshops. It was like production work. I worked in Hatton Garden for a few years. I worked in Notting Hill for one big designer there. And prior to that, I was studying at university here, but actually I would say that most of my knowledge, it just came with with practice actually, and making jewelry myself, in my own time or for other people, learning about tools and all these kind of things. How I started, I can't even remember. It was so long ago. But but I think it was something along the line that I've seen the end of the year show at my university, and I really admired the work of the students. And I just thought it's like magic, how you can create something so beautiful and to such a high standard. And I just thought, I just want to be able to do the same. And I guess that was my turning point, because I'm quite artistic, I do paintings, drawings, but actually I don't feel quite satisfied if I don't make physically things. So I think the jewelry, it was a great medium for me. And at the moment, as well as teaching, I do my own practice. I have my little studio in Wimbledon, and I do a lot of bespoke work, and I use all kind of materials, but it's more towards precious side. So I use gold, platinum, different gemstones. Very often it's, clients would approach to me with a request like to recycle their gold or to reuse their stones. So, and I do all kind of repairs and alterations as well, just as a jobbing jeweler. So yeah, and that's me. What else do I need to say, Jess?
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a great intro. Great intro. Don't worry, you'll be grilled further. I'm here for that. But that's awesome. And Anna has put in the chat all the three mentors who are with us today, their website. So feel free to look at that in the background so you get an idea of, put the jewelry to the face. Okay, next question. And you guys who are joining us live, if you have questions from the mentors, feel free to put them in the chat as well, and we'll go through and ask some of those. So our next question is, and I think everyone finds this hard to do, to talk about what they're really proud of and what they're really good at. But what would you say, most of you have been making jewelry for, decades. What would you say is your proudest moment, or your kind of your biggest achievement? And it can be something big, or it can be something small that just felt big. But what was the moment that you can recall, and I'm putting you on the spot, where you just felt like, oh wow, I really am proud of myself that I've done this particular thing? We'll go in the same order. Sorry, Zoe, you're first up.
That's hard. I don't know. I think from a personal level, this probably isn't really a jewelry related to my jewelry making, but from a personal level, I think managing to run my business around my children. I don't know how much people know about me. I had twins 4 years ago, nearly 5 years ago, sorry. And up until that point, I was working part-time, I was running my business, everything was going great. And then I had these twins, and I gave up my work because cost of childcare, it's ridiculous for 2 children. And just the fact that in the last 5 years, I've built up my business around being a full-time mum to 2 boys who, but let's face it, boys are quite full on. You can be with me there, Jess.
Yes, one is enough, and you have 2, so I bow down.
I think just being able to do that, and I mean, 5 years ago, my business compared to where I am now, considering I found you guys, the Jewelers Academy, 5 years ago, and I did your boot camp, and after that, it gave me that motivation. Having given up work, I'd lost that kind of independence, lost a little bit of me, I felt, and to keep that running, to keep that while I was running my business and being a mum and doing all of those other things, and building up my business to where it is now. I think that's what I'm most proud of. I think that's my biggest achievement. Yeah. And I survived, and I've not lost my marbles completely.
Yes, you've almost got them to 5, which I'm sure at that point they're meant to look after themselves. That's what I've heard anyway.
There was a very big sigh of relief when they started school in September, that's for sure.
And someone in the chat says another twin mum here too. So yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. And I think it can, for everyone who's on, like a lot of people, when they're thinking about doing diplomas or thinking about taking on another year or whatever, just say like, life can be so busy. There's, a lot of people have full-time jobs or childcare, or even looking after like, being a carer or whatever it is. And I think it is amazing that you've been able to do this. And for a lot of people, they say as well, it's actually what's kind of kept them going, because it's your thing.
Yeah, exactly. Being creative is my outlet, as I imagine a lot of you can understand that. It's a way to just disappear into yourself for a little bit and have some me time and just unwind at the end of the day. I basically ran my business for 4 years in nap times and evenings, so it's been quite hard to get out of that working in the evenings thing, but it's nice to have a little bit more free time back, definitely.
Yeah, well done, because that is no small task, and I think it's definitely something you should be proud of. So yeah, thank you for sharing, Zoe. And Barbara, what are you most proud of?
I think the thing I'm most proud of is that I sell jewellery. People actually buy. The arts market is such a competitive market, and I sell consistently, and I have repeat customers. When I go to shows, I sell. And I think that's what I'm most proud of, that I'm actually doing something. I feel incredibly lucky to do something I like and I make money from. So
that's a good one. And when you first started, were you nervous that you wouldn't sell?
I was thinking, everybody makes rings, everybody makes necklaces and earrings. I have to be super, super different. But you don't. You just have to be good. You just have to make quality pieces, and people will come to you, and people come back to me time and time again for, I bought this for me. Now I want to buy something for my daughter, my niece, my so-and-so's getting married. I'd like an engagement ring. And it's just that fact that in such a saturated market, I am selling work to people. People come to me and say, I am willing to pay you quite a significant amount of money to make me X or Y. So I think that is what I love.
Amazing. And what do you think has helped you get there? Has it been consistency, or like doing events, or like a online stuff, or a mixture of everything?
I think it's a combination of everything. You've got to be consistent. So even if you're not doing the shows, you've got to be present in some way. You can't kind of drop off the radar for 4 or 5 years. You've just got to, you're treading water. When you first start, you are treading water. People say, your business should be successful within 3 or 4 years. Great if it is, but I'm now, after 18 years, I'm now just coming. People are now coming back to me. I'm getting more commissions. I'm selling more things via my website. So
yeah, you've built up your kind of community and
yes,
people
exactly.
know. Yeah, wonderful. That's a great thing to be proud of. Yeah, I agree. Proud of you for that too. Wonderful. And Anelia, what are you proud of? Most proud of? We've got lots of things to be proud of, all of you guys, but
you're on mute.
Sorry, you're on mute, Anelia.
Yeah, I said you'll be all laughing, but I'm incredibly proud of the fact that I built my website and it's live.
Woohoo! You're building a website and it's live.
It has been for a couple of years, but it was such an experience for me. I'm still feel very proud. It was just like, it seems like unturnable cornerstone for me. And yeah, I think it's very nice to have it. I still have to do the shop part so people could buy online, but that was a very, very big thing for me. And obviously I got my studio last year. That was a big step forward as well, because because Barbara in London as well, and she, like, we know it's very difficult to find the art spaces or, you know, good art studios to produce your work. It's very, very difficult. I've been looking a few years, and last year I was very lucky, and now I'm just kind of, you know, working that direction to. It's where I can meet people, where I can meet clients, because that's what was always difficult for me. And in the past, I used to go to the cafes to meet people in different places. And of course, it's not very, very convenient because it takes tons of time. Yeah, so I would say those two things are very great achievements for me.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the nice thing is like, as we grow and as we develop, and you guys have been making jewelry for a long time, we set ourselves new goals and we get excited by new things, and you know, there's new achievements that come along that help us to stay motivated and inspired and loving what we're doing. So talking about your kind of mentoring, because you guys all mentor on the diploma programs, tell us a bit about your students and perhaps a little bit about like the challenges they face and how you help them to overcome them. Because I think that's one of the really exciting things about doing a diploma program. If you get assigned a mentor, such as one of you guys, and then, you know, obviously through the course of a year, there's naturally going to be challenges. Yeah, perhaps you could share with us some of the challenges that students do face and how you help them overcome them. So I'm going to mix up the order just to make it crazy. So Barbara, do you want to kick us off with this one?
I have a range of students. I have students, I think one of them is 22, and I'm sure another one is in her 50s or 60s. Actually, I had one that was 70 something last year. So there's kind of a real range. People working full-time, people working part-time, people career restarters who are changing careers, and people who just have time on their hands and they want to do this as kind of a little bit of a hobby and things like that. So sometimes you get people, when you do the one-to-ones, who are popping up at 5 o'clock and literally still got their work bag in their hand, saying, I'm on the move, can we do it, the one-to-one while I'm on the move, sort of thing. And then you've got the people who are a bit more sort of leisurely. And sometimes those people who are working full-time, I do understand that you're working full-time, you've only got the weekend to do such and such. So you do try and tell them, you know, it's the technique that you're learning. Okay, you might not finish the whole piece, but as long as you understand what you're doing, if this is going to be your practice, you will have plenty of time to develop that particular technique. So you don't have to learn it right there and then, because to be honest, most people don't. If you tell people something once, they might have to redo it a few times, and that's jewelry. I think that's anything you do, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Practice makes perfect, doesn't it? But we can be impatient. I know I can.
Yes.
I just want to do it right straight away.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So it's good to have those reminders. And I think, you know, people who've been doing it for a longer time than us can talk about some of the mistakes they've made and how they've overcome or
Yeah.
problem solved, or, you know, there's so many different ways of doing the exact same thing. Even just like soldering, I've seen 20 different jewelers solder in 20 different ways, and none of them are wrong. They're all, you know, different ways of doing it. And I think that's the wonderful thing about learning from different tutors as well, is you can take the bits that you like and kind of develop your own style of making that fits the way that your hands move and the way that you like to work, and because we're all a little bit different, aren't we? So that's one of the things that you guys help the students with. But yeah, thank you, Barbara. And Anelia, what are your students like, and how do you help them with your mentoring?
Okay, I'm teaching advanced diploma now, and last year I was teaching fine diploma. So these were students that already has quite a good range of making skills and jewelry skills. And it was very, like, to me, it's really exciting to see their ideas, because some projects, you know, they're technique based, but in more advanced courses, you know, you have quite a lot of flexibility to develop, you know, your own style, to use stones what you like, you know, the metals what you like. And I think, okay, it's not really a challenge, you know, as such, but I think it's just a great thing that students can do. And yes, of course, you know, if it's something particular that needs talking over, you know, in relation to their particular job, you know, I'm more than happy to do it. And we always have chat at our Zoom calls. I had very nice groups, you know, that they were like very supportive of each other. I found the students, they really help each other, you know, if they stuck with some technical issues, or, you know, advising on materials, what's available, you know, how they can deal with it. It's really great, because even though, you know, okay, I've been doing it for many, many years, but the industry, it gets renewed like so often, you know, you get new materials, you get new ways of doing things. And, you know, I don't always follow everything. So it's very nice to get that different feedback, like all of it in one place. I think it's very enriching for everyone. And in terms of difficulties, what were real difficulties, it's probably, you know, maybe some technical things. And of course, like Barbara said, you know, we all grown-ups, we all have our lives. So juggling with time is a little bit, it could be a little bit of a problem, but we all realize, you know, we just do our best, including mentors, I suppose. Yes, so that my students are like very dedicated. I kind of tend to have more mature students, and, you know, so these are people who are like, they live their life, they know what they're like, they know like their nature, you know, they some of them, they have very clear their own styles, even though they're not professional jewelers, you know, but through their nature, through their experiences that they already had, it kind of shows through their work. And it's very interesting, and it's very satisfying for me as a mentor to see, you know, because, for example, when you have your personal projects to do, I don't want to see like the same copy of things, you know. I really want to see you, what you are like, you know, what you've learned, what techniques you enjoy the most, you know. I wouldn't say it's personal, but my students have some sort of flexibility in what they're working on. And I think it's just fantastic opportunity for them to explore their skills and for me to enjoy their work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a really interesting point, is it's like a two-way relationship, isn't it? Like, we learn from each other. Of course, you know, the mentors have lots of experience and knowledge to share, but the great thing about being in a community where you've got peers and you've got other people making the same projects at the same time alongside you is that we kind of all grow together and we problem solve together, and we kind of find new things. And I think everyone here loves learning, and obviously we love teaching as well, but part of teachers always love learning too. It's that lifelong kind of skill of developing and also keeping that passion alive, because I think that's something that helps us to stay motivated. And there's a lot of accountability built into the diplomas, which is one of the key reasons why people kind of love to do them. Thanks, Anelia, that's great. And Zoe, what about you? Tell us a bit about your students and your experience of working with them, because yours is on the silver diploma, which is the first year.
So this is my second year of silver diploma, and my students have been really varied. Some of them have never picked up any kind of jewelry tool before. They've not had any experience, and some of them have been doing a little bit of silversmithing. They've done sort of day courses, or I had a couple last year who had actually been making and selling jewelry for the last 12 months. They picked it up during lockdown and taught themselves various bits. And everybody's at a different level. And I think because you have the Facebook groups as well for, like you say, with accountability, everybody's in there and everybody's so friendly and helpful. But everybody is at a different level and everybody's on a different stage of their learning journey, that I think there's a bit of anxiety between students that they aren't as good as another person posting things in the Facebook group, but you have to remember
comparison, comparing is fair. Yeah, we're all guilty of that.
So we've had quite a bit of that in the 2 years that I've been, well, this is my second year, so in the year and a bit that I've been mentoring. So I find it really important to stress that this is your journey. It's not anybody else's. You don't need to compare yourself to the other students, and just go at your own speed, really. And it doesn't have to be perfect first time. Like you said, Barbara, you are always learning as you go. You are told how to do it, and then you learn throughout your career, really. There's still things I'm learning. There's still things I'm perfecting as well. And, we always strive for perfection, but it doesn't need to be from day one. So yeah, just do your best, and that's all you can do, really.
Absolutely, yeah. It's kind of that thing that no one's judging you. Obviously, exactly. In a course, we're giving feedback because that's really valuable to see, like, what's the next step and how you can progress. But there's never any judgment other than the ones we put on ourselves. And I think a big part of what we do in the community is, share that self-judgment. So hopefully it lifts it. When people say, like, oh, I feel like I didn't do well enough in this, and then everyone comes in and like, you're awesome. And also I feel like that too, then, kind of sharing those things in a place where people understand. Because sometimes it can, if you're around people who aren't jewelers, they're like, it's fine, or whatever. And I think especially in a creative industry, our work can feel so personal. So to have that kind of calming voice of like, just keep going and you're doing really well, and seeing the progress and being able to mark that progress is
absolutely awesome. And the confidence as well that the students get from term one. If you've never picked up a piece of equipment before, you've never picked up a saw and cut a piece of metal before, to term 3 and creating your final project, that in term 1 you probably thought, I'm never going to be able to do that, and then in term 3 you produce this beautiful piece of work, is just to see the students grow is amazing.
Absolutely lovely, guys. Thank you for sharing that. The next question I have is, what one piece of advice would you give to a jeweler kind of starting out, or perhaps a bit further along and looking to grow, just based on your personal experience? There's no right or wrong to this question, but what would you like to have been told, or would you like to remind yourself of, that has helped you, whether it's to do with like practicing or letting go of imposter syndrome, or something totally different? What has kind of helped you? Barbara, would you like to go first?
I think it is, for me, you don't have to know how to do everything. There's some things I don't like. I don't like photography, and I don't like stone setting. 2 things I really don't like. So I give them to somebody else who can do it, 1, better than me, 2, quicker than me. So I think that is what I've learned. I think at the beginning you think you should do it all, but I can do those things, but I just don't like them. So I'll do something else I enjoy instead.
Yeah. Great tip. And I think a lot of people who are starting with jewelry making, or even like a bit further along, think, if I don't do it all, it's cheating, or it's not. And that's not the case. That's what jewelers do. We can't be perfect to everything, and who would want to be? Yeah. Some people love stone setting and just stone set all the time, and some people love fabrication and making the pieces and do that. And Yeah, so again, it's taking some pressure off, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, brilliant. Good tip. Zoe, what would yours be?
Everything takes time. It's not going to be an immediate success. Everything isn't going to be a big seller. It's not going to be there are things that you're going to make and go, oh, actually, that didn't do very well, or oh, well, never mind, let's put that to one side and do something else. And the growth isn't overnight. You might open your website and not get a single order, but it's not been a failure because it's there, it's out there, it takes time. So yeah, don't beat yourself up because it's not perfect overnight.
Yeah.
And like like Barbara said, you don't think about being able to get somebody else to do things when you first start out. You think, oh, I should be doing everything. But if you want to be able to grow, I think you do have to let things go and let other people get involved. If there's things that are slowing you down, like photography, it does take time. So why not get somebody to do it that can do it perfectly well and much better than I could do? We're the makers. We just want to be making, not doing the long, boring tasks. So yeah, I'm with you, Barbara, there.
Yeah.
One of my goals for the next couple of years.
More outsourcing. Love that.
Yeah.
And I think, like for me, when I first started, I wanted to try everything, because if you don't try, you don't know what you are going to enjoy. Like, for example, with photography, I didn't enjoy it. But when I learned how to do it, I was like, actually, I do enjoy being able to, like, once I've made something that I really like, make it look exactly how I want it to look. And sometimes when I gave it to photographer, I was like, well, that looks nice, but it's not my vision for the photography. But I had to invest time and energy in that not to get over that frustration at the beginning. But then there's certain things that, like with accounts, for example, I'm like, I am good for you to do that. That is fine. I'm very happy. But I think the nice thing about, especially the earlier levels of the diploma program, is you learn a bit of everything. It's almost like a foundation the first year. And ever since we've run this, even in person when we used to run it, I'd always find it fascinating that some people would say, you'd always ask people what's their favourite project and their least favourite, and they'd be totally different. Some people would be like, my favourite is the wax, and other people, they'd be like, I hate the wax. And I was like, that's brilliant, because now you've narrowed it down a bit. And one of the key challenges in growing a jewellery practice and a jewellery business is focus, because if you did love everything, you'd be a little bit stuck, because there's only so many hours in the day. So I think one of the great things is you can start to niche down and think, okay, actually, what areas do I not want to focus on? What do I want to focus on? And as the diplomas go through, we kind of get more about you focusing on developing your own style and your own practice as well. So yeah, it's a great point, Zoe. Brilliant. And Nelia, what about you?
Well, I'm kind of going to extend a little bit of what you mentioned. Don't question yourself too much. If it's something you want to make or something you want to learn, just go for it. Because, okay, when I was working and when I was learning, it was a very traditional way. And, the mentors were saying, like, oh, this old man, who's been in the industry for years and they know it all. They were always like, oh, it's too difficult. Oh, yeah, you have to learn years to do that. Or, it's just so impossible. And you know what? It's just so discouraging. Like, you want to do it, and literally you're taking that opportunity even like to try. So if you really want something and you're interested how it's made, even if no one shows to you, you can just sit down and work it out. If somebody done it, you can always do it too. That's how I look at it. Yeah. And the other point is to invest in the good tools and equipment if you are serious in making jewelry. It costs a lot of money. I'm aware of that. To me, it took me a few years just to build my tools necessary for my work, because I don't have any support or anything. But, once you have them, you can do your jobs. And obviously, they're going to last a lifetime. And even if you change your mind and you don't want to work anymore, you can always sell them at a very good price. And usually you never see this kind of equipment. If you talk about rolling mills or or collet punches, if they are good make, good quality, very rare you'll see them secondhand selling, because they're usually sold between jewelers themselves. It all goes inside the community. So I don't think you'll ever stuck with selling like a rolling mill if it's in a good condition, if it's a good make. So it's up to you. I understand it's a very big commitment sometimes, but yeah, once you do it, you have a good tool for you, and you make your life easier. We don't want to make our life harder. So on some things you can save money, but on other things you can't save money. So you have to juggle a little bit.
Yeah, they often say you buy cheap, you buy twice, don't they? And I think that is true for jewelry tools. I remember buying my first set of pliers and I just looked for like the cheapest pliers I could find. And of course, they didn't last me more than like a month or two before I was like, I want some good pliers to do my jewelry making with. And since then, yes, that's been my excuse to spend money on tools. So wonderful. Yes, that's really helpful. Thank you, guys. Okay, next question. I want to talk a bit more about the making and the techniques. What are some of your favorite projects or techniques that are taught on the diploma, and why? And these will just be personal ones to you, but I would love to know, perhaps from your year, or it can be, ones that you've taught. So I know that, Barbara and Elia teach on the programs as well. But yeah, what are your favorite projects? Zoe, do you want to kick us off?
Oh, well, yeah, mine's got to be granulation, definitely.
I'll be right back. Carry on.
Yeah, granulation for me, it's my favorite. I love granulation. I think it's one of those you either love it or you hate it techniques. It's quite fiddly, but it's quite therapeutic. Get little scraps of silver and melting them down and soldering each one in place. But it's also a really good way to recycle your waste. So if you end up with bits of silver, cut them down, melt them up and solder them on. Granulation comes in term 3 of the silver diploma, I think. Is that right, Barbara?
So yes, I think it is term 3. Yes,
term 3. Yeah. So yeah, most students love it, and I think it's one of the techniques that probably most students are interested in learning when they sign up. So yeah, it's definitely my favorite.
And it looks so interesting, doesn't it? Like when you have the piece finished, it looks so intricate.
Yeah, it gives such a nice 3D effect to it, but not really heavy. It doesn't make the piece really heavy either. So it's a nice way of adding texture and height to it without the bulkiness. It's still quite delicate and feminine. Yeah.
Wonderful. I missed what it was, but it sounds awesome.
I bet
little visitor. Wonderful. Anelia, what's one of your favorite projects?
I think for me it was design and jewelry painting. I suppose maybe because it's something slightly different than what I do all the time. And yeah, I liked all the projects, but actually these ones, they're kind of in my memory. And I think it's a really great way for you just to learn about jewelry, slightly different things, and again, it could become your passion, if you really like drawing and painting, and it gives a little bit of break between your very, very intense practical work too.
Yeah, I also love the design ones, and I think they just open our minds up, to like the possibilities. And I know when I'm learning new skills, I'm naturally inspired because I just think, oh, how could I use this? Like now I know how to tube set. How could I put that into a design? Or, now I know granulation, how do I want to use it? Because I think you learn the skill and you do the project in the course, but naturally our brains start to think, but how would I incorporate this into, something that I enjoy doing? And the nice thing about the design weeks, and there's some in all of the different diplomas, is you get to kind of think, what about me? How would I use this? Not just learning that technique, but how would I put it into practice? And Yeah, especially the jewelry design and drawing really kind of explores ways to develop a design and create things. And then in the fine diploma, they do the rendering, which is just so relaxing, I think. And I do sometimes see people say, you know, in the Facebook groups, they're like, oh no, I'm worried about rendering, I'm not good at drawing and I'm not good at painting. And they're normally the people that when they've done it are like, oh, I love it. I'm in love. I want to do rendering all the time. So yeah, I agree that there's some really nice bits and pieces in there. What about you, Barbara? What are some of your favorite projects?
I think I like the tennis bracelet. It's nice and technical, and it's quite a bit repetitive, which I do quite like that a little bit. And the results can be really, really nice.
Yeah, you kind of get into the flow, don't you?
Yeah.
I like that as well. Like when I've made something, if I've made it once, I'm normally just figuring it all out. So then I want to do it again, and then maybe a third time, and then I'm like, okay, now I know how to make this.
Yes, you get a nice flow going for it. That's what I like.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. And so we've talked kind of a little bit about, you know, the diplomas, but what are your favorite things in general about them? Not necessarily specific projects, but, you know, what is it that you like? Why have you chosen to be mentors on these programs? Maybe Zoe, you can kick us off again.
I like the inclusivity of them, the fact that you don't have to be in a certain place to do them, that you don't have to wait each week to go to a certain workshop, and you know it's in your own time. You can put as many hours in or as little hours as you want, and you have this community of people there on your laptop or local. I mean, there's several students who have met each other in real life and gone out for lunch, or, you know, gone and had coffees to chat about their work and stuff. So that you can guarantee there will be somebody in your area that is doing, not necessarily doing the same course as you, that is doing something similar, that is a jeweler or is in the Jewelers Academy Facebook group. You know, I found it myself. There's a couple of other jewelers who live about 20 minutes from me that I didn't know before meeting them through the Jewelers Academy. So it's lovely that there's that community, because being a jeweler is a lonely job. You generally sit in your studio on your own and you don't speak to anybody other than via, you know, Zoom calls or emails.
Yeah.
It's nice to have that community group to just hang back with and go and get a coffee if you want to, and just unwind and offload onto. Really, it's nice.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the community is so important. You know, just building a jewelry community around you, and whether it's here or somewhere else, because they're the people that understand, and you can share, you know, ideas and get tips and network and all of those things. And I think one of the nice things is in the diploma programs, because they're more involved, we have more time together. So every fortnight you'll be in a group Zoom with the same people, and it's a small group, so you kind of become each other's like jewelry crew. And, you know, if you don't turn up, they're like, where's Jennifer? Or, you know, where is she today? And I know that some of those groups have gone on to kind of meet up in real life and, you know, do all those kind of extended things. And I love seeing, you know, on Instagram, I think last week someone shared that they went across the country to meet up with a buddy in Jewelers Academy, and they spent, you know, a day or two together. And I think that even though it's online, and there's great things you mentioned about it being online, that it's inclusive and wherever people are in the world they can join, there's people, you know, close by as well, or even if they're not close, you can go visit, you can make friends, you know, through the programs, which is an amazing resource. Yeah. Wonderful. What about you, Barbara?
I think it's just the diverse people you meet, people from all over the world, New York, Australia, New Zealand. I've got a lady from Trinidad, and it's just talking to different people who do different things. I do like that.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like, it's the people part, isn't it? And I think when I speak to students and I say, what's, the best thing about the diplomas, they say lots of things, like the videos and the technical making and to be able to do it in their own time and like all of those things. But one of the things that they talk about the most is the connection with the mentors and with other jewelers, and that they can go into the Facebook group day or night and talk about not just jewelry, but that specific project that everyone's doing. So it's, you're all on the same journey together, which is quite unique, I think. And because there's quite a lot of students on the journey, there's going to be someone online, we're all from all over the world. There'll be someone awake going, oh my gosh, me too. My diamond also dropped on the floor and I can't find it. And, so it's just having people there. It's that presence. And I think the diversity of the community is wonderful as well. And Elia, what about you? What do you like about the diplomas?
Well, I would just join what everyone else has said. I think it's really great to have that connections and, people from all over the world, and they are united by that idea of learning, again, like sharing their skills. I love the flexibility that the course offers to, both to students and mentors and tutors. I like the positive vibes always. It's really good learning environment. You're not being judged, you're not being criticized. It's like everyone is very supportive. And that's the main things. I think this is great values of the courses, what we're doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I love the most is, with the mentors, how much these guys and all of the mentors genuinely want to help you. And I think that sounds so obvious, but when I started jewelry making, which is a long time ago, there would often be teachers who would kind of share a bit, but be like, I don't want to share this because that's mine, and keep some things to themselves. And it was a strange vibe. It was a bit weird. And I didn't get it because I was just, bright-eyed and like, I want to learn everything, show me. So I always really value when people have learned things and they're willing to pass it on, because I just think that's how we keep the craft alive. That's how we inspire and encourage each other. And actually, no one ever needs to fear that somebody else is better or, will copy them or anything like that, because we're all just constantly evolving and growing and learning. And, that kind of really cheesy thing of together we are stronger, but we kind of help make each other better. So thank you to the mentors, and that's what we look for in mentors. We look for people who genuinely want you the best for you, for students, and love seeing you kind of grow and flourish and learn. We've got a question from Louisa, because we have a few more questions and not that much time left. I might just ask individual questions to you guys, so quick fire round. But a question from Louisa: I'd love to hear the most memorable transformation of a mentee, technical or something else. So I don't know if anyone has anything that's come to mind, like they've learned something and it kind of brought about a transformation, or just a moment. I guess it's like a light bulb moment where something changed, and it could be anything. I'll leave it open in case any of you guys have something coming to mind.
Well, I can comment. Okay, it's not actually about moment, because it's about the process. It's I don't know about other mentors, but for me, it's just to see my students grow, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like you wake up and suddenly you can do all that. Sometimes probably on the personal level, each students, they would have those steps that, for example, they were not comfortable with the technique, or they never done it, and then suddenly it works and they feel like, yes, that's great. That's my next level kind of thing. But for me as a mentor, it's a continuous growth of the person, and then the final project in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen someone's asked about the final projects as well. Do we get to choose our own final projects? Maybe you can tell a little bit about the final projects, and Elliot. They're different for each diploma, but essentially, yes, you get to choose your own. And what do you like about the final projects with your students?
Yes. Okay. So you will have certain criteria listed for what we require for your personal project to include. but really you have all the flexibility to do pretty much what you want with that. And again, for me, it's an element of surprise, because I have no idea what you're going to be making. Okay, we're discussing the design, but still, it's not like I have it in the piece or I have it in the previous models. And of course, I'm always looking forward to see your personal style, what you like, what stones you choose, if you choose any, the concepts behind your work. It's not, you don't have to have the concept behind your work, but actually it's really, really great when you do, because if you approach like galleries or people come to your workshop, it's really great if you can talk about your piece. It becomes more like an art and it adds value to your work. And if you do your personal design, it's nice if you have a story behind it and you can tell this to people. It's really, really great. And yes, for your personal project, we encourage you to develop your design and the concepts behind it.
Yeah.
And that's very exciting for me to read and to see what you're doing. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We love the final project. Yeah, it's kind of like the time at the end of the whole year, you've learned all these things. You get to pick out what do you want to do, and you get to say, I don't want to do those things. And you can focus on just a couple of techniques and just make something that hopefully you love.
And also, I'll just add one more thing, Jess, if I can.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I think the great thing about personal project is because you have the time to play and to experiment and to create something. Because after you leave the course, you have all sorts of other commitment and everything. You may not get the time anymore. So please use that opportunity and, just to enjoy it. Don't look at it like, oh, I'm going to get marked for that. It's for you to enjoy and for you to play. And, as an adult, we forget how to do it. We don't get time to do it. And it's very, very important. And so that piece, it could be something just so great that it's like a signature, like a personal signature. You may sell it, you may not sell it, but it can be something really great that you can show on your website, on your social media. It could be something really eye-catching. Just consider the time element as well, because it's so easy to get over-inspired and, you have such an ambitious vision of what you would like to create. So it has to be balanced, but also, it would have been quite sad if you only made like a silver ring with some elements, right? Because it's such a great course and you have so many different techniques. So yeah, just do something with you. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Love that. Great advice. And just to finish on that, someone's put, how long do you get to do the final project? It is different in each year, and there's different numbers of pieces you make in each year as well. So have a look at the curriculums for each year and you'll see. But it's not as long as you'd want, as always, because we want to fit like the techniques in, but we also want to give you some time to make. So it's normally a few weeks at the end, but we do get you started thinking about it from early on, so you can plan it out and kind of do all the preparation stuff. And there are always a good few weeks at the end of each term. There's also always a workshop week at the end of every term, so there's time to kind of catch up on bits and pieces. Sometimes people ask, like, what if I go away or have holidays? That's absolutely fine. Because of the flexible nature of the course, you can always just make back time. So yeah, but if you want to know more about the programs in detail, I would encourage you to look at the open days. We've just done a series of open days, one for each course, where I talk through the whole program in detail. So if you're joining this one and you've not looked at those, I would encourage you to have a look at those as well, because we're really having a chit chat today with the mentors, which is also great for you to ask questions. But if you want more technical details about the course, it will be in there. So a couple of final questions to finish. And if anyone has any burning questions, feel free to put them in the chat as well, just before we wrap up. Zoe, I was going to ask you about space, because I know something that some students are concerned about before they start is, can I do this like in my bedroom, in a corner? Because not everyone has a dedicated workshop, especially when we're starting out. I know I didn't. I was sort of making on the kitchen table and just finding any space to kind of grab. How, obviously you've got your own space now, but it's, you've managed to fit it in around your work. How do your students manage with space and when they're sort of starting out?
Oh gosh, yeah. I think we've all been there with the kitchen table, haven't we? It's a rite of passage, I think, starting working. I had a student last year who literally had a bookshelf in her dining room, and that was her bench. She started out with a bookshelf with a tabletop on top, a piece of wood on top. So that was her starting out. She did graduate to a table towards the end of the second. But as long as you've got somewhere that you can attach a bench peg to, or it doesn't have to be a fancy workbench. You can do it from a table and then pack your stuff away at the end of when you finish working, if that works for you. I had a lady last year who literally had her a workbench in the corner of her bedroom, and somebody who had theirs in the kitchen. Mine is in my utility room, so it's glamorous. But yeah,
we can get the washing done at the same time. So double whammy.
So yeah, it doesn't have to be an all singing, all dancing workshop. If you've got the space, it's wonderful. But if you've not, then don't worry about it. You can squeeze it in wherever you can.
Absolutely, yeah. So do not worry about space. Like you said, we've all been there. And a final question for Barbara. Where do you get, and just putting everyone on the spot, so apologies for this, but where do you get your inspiration for your designs? I know this is a question we get asked for the mentors a lot. So obviously in the diploma, we're talking mostly about techniques and learning new things, but as jewelers, we're always looking to grow. What inspires you?
That's a really hard one. It's not anything in particular. Sometimes I'll just be messing around in the studio and something will happen. I'll think, oh, that's really good. And and then you go with it. So it's really back to what you were talking about, the final projects that we do, because you might look at that and make something and think, actually, that's not right for now. But in 2 or 3 years' time, you might come back to it. And I know I've done that with some of my designs and my designs from my design book. I've done things maybe 5-6 years ago, and I think, oh, actually, that's not right for now. Then I've come back to them, and it's made a really great piece that has kind of really nicely tagged onto the collection that I'm working on now. So it just comes from all over. It's never one particular thing. It's never like I'm sitting there drawing and it's just popped into my it's never like that. Yeah, sometimes I'm sitting at the workbench and I'm just staring into space all day long. And then 10 minutes before I have to pack up, it's like, oh, why don't I try? And you go from there. But for the rest of the day, I've just been sipping tea and coffee and scrolling on Instagram. So,
useful time as well.
Yeah, sometimes in the work studio, that's all it is all day long. And talking to people in the next studio, or, listening to music, and then you'll get a bit of inspiration. Think, oh, let me try. That's how, yeah. So it's never one particular thing.
Yeah, you give yourself time and space and permission to just wait for inspiration to come.
Yes, exactly.
Not forcing it. Wonderful. Well, I think that's a lovely note to end on. And a big thank you to everyone who's come and joined us today. If you're watching the recording, lovely to have you here as well. Thank you to all of our wonderful mentors. Lovely chatting with you guys. I feel like I could chat with each of you for at least an hour, but I am aware of time, so we will wrap up. If anybody would like to join a diploma program, they are all open for enrollment at the moment. You can go ahead and sign up. We have lots of payment plans to make them as affordable, so you can spread the cost. The courses start in September. They run throughout this kind of school year and finish in the summer. But if you sign up before the 10th of February, it is the most affordable option because it means you can spread the cost over 18 months. After that point, it goes down to like a 12-month payment plan. But of course, if you just want to join and pay up front, that's fine as well. We do have tool and material kits available for the silver diploma and material kits available for the fine as well. But I'd encourage you to look at the open days to find out more. And if you'd like to speak to us individually, you can book a discovery call to talk about your individual needs. We'll put a link to that as well. But yes, so I hope you guys have found it inspiring and interesting and lovely to hear about these jewelers' journeys. Everybody is different and everyone's on their own path, but absolutely lovely to have you guys here. And we look forward to seeing you on one of the programs and inside the community and just seeing your progress as you develop and grow as jewelers. So thank you all. Take care. Bye. Bye, Zoe.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Have a good evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.